Hey YouTube, what's going on? It feels like it's been a while. So everybody's hungover probably. Everybody's done their streams last night. It's a quiet night. It's a Friday night, and it seems streamless. So I thought, well, everybody does the kind of end of year things. Normally I do the Golden Pints, but it just doesn't seem all that kind of relevant this time. So I wanted to do this. I wanted to do a kind of a top 10 list. YouTube loves a top 10 list, so why not be one of the many people who contributes to the endless lists on YouTube? And what I'm particularly doing as I'm drinking a Leota double IPA from Track Manchester. Sorry, the light's a bit kind of bleaching me out, but specific glassware. Oh yeah, you know you love it. Anyway, sip a beer for the not really working man. Mm-mm. So yes, so top 10 UK IPAs of 2012. I have imposed myself a specific rule because who else is going to impose the most entertaining of rules than yourself? So what I've said is I can only pick one beer per brewery, because if not, I'd have like just multiple from a small handful of breweries, which is really a little bit more challenging. But I think it's it's a real kind of like good representation of the kind of beers that I drink. As you see, Hobzine, if you're a subscriber to this channel, you know there's a lot of IPAs on this channel. So I've got me a little list on my phone. So in no particular order, I will give you my number one IPA of the year at the end, but I'll give you a bunch of other ones, and I'll give you a bit of context as well. So first one, I mean, there's no chronological order or anything, but this one just happened to start, was the start of 2020. And it was Brew by Numbers, 50/50 double mosaic, double IPA. I drank that at Cloudwater, Friends and Family. You remember that? Do you remember that? When you used to be able to go to beer festivals? Yeah, thankfully those guys sneaked that one in February, I think it was. And that was one of my beers of the day. I mean, I'm drinking beers from kind of Other Half and Trillium and no, I didn't have any Trillium, did I? I'm lying. Other Half and the Vale, and very much sought after kind of breweries. And Brew by Numbers Double Mosaic really kind of left an impression on me. One thing I'll say, I mean, I've had very little brew by Numbers this year. I haven't really got around in the bottle shops and online shops. Been doing it all themselves, but I have really missed their beers because I think they do some great stuff. Might have to place an order. So that was an absolute stunner. Next up, I'm going to say Alpha Delta from Newcastle, and it's their Sota IPA. I think it's about 7%ish, something like that. I should have done a bit more research, but I just got brewers and names. Mostly filled this in when I was during times on the toilet, which I think that's when you do all your best thinking about beer lists. So yeah, Sota was I think it was the first draft beer I've had from Alpha Delta, and that was a pub called Lady Grey's. When during the little break that we had in lockdown, between the lockdowns, the most significant lockdowns, drank that at Lady Grey's quite early in the morning, probably about 12:30 lunchtime. On our second trip up to Newcastle, and that really stood out. And it was really good. A review is available on Hobzine, so please go check out a full review. I really liked that. And then I will, before I get to the top of the list, I've got a few other kind of honourable mentions, as I think need a mention. One which is a relatively new addition to the list, which I think I only had it for the first time about 2 weeks ago, and I had another yesterday, just to make sure. And I want more because I want to do a review of it, because I've not done a review of it, and that's from the Beak Brewery. We're down in Sussex, and that's their Locals, which is beautiful. I think it's, what is it now? I think it's Citra and Nelson Sauvin. Absolutely stunning. I mean, they're a really emerging brewery for me. I know they've been going a few years, but I think they're really hitting their stride at the moment. Next up, Daya. Daya is a tricky one for me. What I've gone for Saturated in Strata. If you go through my reviews of Daya this year, I've done quite a few. The saturated beers, I think they've been a really consistent range. I mean, the Everything Good has been an enjoyable range of beers, but not the most kind of impactful range. Good stuff, but not really left me with much to hold on to. I mean, it would be easy to kind of like add a load of Deas in there because I think they're consistently very, very good. But I'm a big fan of Strata, a relatively new hop. I think it probably became more prominent this year. I think this is the first time I had it this year, but there may have been beers brewed previously with it, but it came to my attention this year. And it just does a lot for me, does Strata. It's got something that reminds me of kind of West Coast old school hops, Amarillo, Centennial, all that kind of thing. But then it's got a bit of a weird funky kind of like quality, not in the beer sense funky, just in interesting. And that the likes of kind of Talus and Sabro, it's a bit more kind of herbaceous, I guess, which I've really liked. So I went with Saturated in Strata. Saturated in Galaxy I had last week. Cracking beer. But I'd say Strata kind of tipped it for me. Next up, I'm going to Cloudwater. Cloudwater was a tricky one. I've had one of my breweries of the year. That's going to a little bit of a sneak peek. Cloudwater, I've had a lot of fantastic IPAs. I think they made some great stuff this year. I'm really desperately trying to get another can of the rebrew of their West Coast Double IPA, which is supposedly based on Playing for President, which is behind me there. Because it'll be super fresh, and well, a lot fresher than that one was. And I really want to try that. But I had that in summer. I can't remember what it was called, but that was really good. I just had a bunch of, I think more of this kind of 7%ers from Cloudwater have been amazing. Core Range Double IPA, amazing. There's so many but this is it. As you'll find with some more things I'll mention in a bit. Had to keep track of what's what, going from one great IPA, double IPA to another. But the one that really grabbed my attention from Cloudwater this year was the Realist, which is a triple IPA. Excuse me. Which I'll say now. I was anti triple IPA. I'm going to say triple IPA. I don't use the T word. I think it's offensive. And that was Citra Mosaic, as most beers are brewed with at the moment, it appears. But that's no, I'm not complaining about that. But yeah, the Realist was just nuts. It was just like really intense orange and mango juice. Yeah, just an absolute masterpiece. I'd say Cloudwater probably doing the best triple IPAs in the UK at the moment. On to another one, another bloody triple IPA of my mate Simon. Simon Muff, if you watch this, he was very pro triple IPA. He uses the T word. But I was very anti it. But the next one being from Overturn, and it was oof. I mean, I think if I hadn't posted a review of the Realist, it's definitely to come. Oof, I reviewed a couple of weeks ago, which was kindly sent to me by somebody on Instagram, and that was absolute corking. Can't remember what it is in that, but Overturn were a real find for me this year. I know they've been going for a year or two, but I think they've had a real step up in quality. And yeah, oof, it's a great name. And I had the is it Last Bus to Yorker last on Christmas Eve, and that was really good as well. But oof, kind of was the one that impressed me the most. I think that was a triple, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure it's triple. Or is it a double? Should do a bit more research. Next one. Not this particular one, but I did keep that in my back pocket. As I'm currently drinking from Track. If You Lose Me, which is beautiful, but was a contender for beer of the year. I mean, for IPA of the year was Track's Eye to Eye. Absolute storm. I mean, Track out a cheap brewery to buy, but in my book, probably making consistently the best IPAs in the country. IPAs, double IPAs, a few triple and a quad, which I reviewed recently, which was absolutely stunning. Next on the list is Verdant, making a shot comeback. I went off Verdant. I'm not gonna lie to you. Went off Verdant. everything got a bit samey from Verdant, and it felt like they got really expensive for a while. And do you know what? Oddly, they've got expensive again, which I don't agree with. I mean, since they moved to the new site, I think they've found their feet, and it was definitely in the middle of the summer, and it was 20 Watt Moon, which really grabbed my attention. I loved that beer, drank a bunch of it, and the kind of a range that they were doing around that, like 2-3 weeks there, like the black lager and stuff like that, and there were a bunch of them. Some really good beers from Verdant. I think they just found a nice balance between that kind of the kind of fudge that was everywhere. I mean, Verdant's beers got a really bit overtly fudgy and melon forward for me, but 20 Watt Moon was a real kind of return to form. Next one was my penultimate choice. I said in no particular order, but you mean these guys were always going to be up at the top, and that's North. As I am not too far from Leeds in Shipley, only a short train journey. It really was a bit of a toss up between two, but I will plump for one because it's YouTube. Just have a fucking opinion. So the one that I was quibbling over was a beer called Into the Mersbow, which came out, I think, kind of around. I think it was just when lockdown was kind of relaxed, and that was hopped with Talus. As I said, Talus, I like that kind of hop. I mean, they call it a sister of Sabro. I love Sabro, and I'd say it had a lot of what I like about Sabro. And I drank a bunch of Into the Mersbow, but I think just tipping it, which only appeared in the last couple of weeks, is called Persistent Illusion. It's double IPA. I think is it Citra, Mosaic, and Simcoe. I've got a can. I had a can last night. I had a can last Sunday. I've got another can left. Love that beer. I think it's just North at their best. Don't know if it's brewed at the new brewery, which is going to be something that I'm really excited about. I forgot what it's called as their new brewery, which opened sometime this year, 2021. So I'm really looking forward to that. But that just pipped into the Mersbow, but it was a real toss up between them. But one of the things is the best beer is the beer in your hand, and that's why I was holding out, thinking, could this be the best? Could this be better than Eye to Eye? But before I give you my IPA, UK IPA of the year, I'm going to say there's a bunch of breweries I could give you. I could give you multiples from here. I mean, I've drunk a bunch from Day, drunk a bunch from Overturn, Cloudwater, Track, North. Drank a lot from those breweries, and all brewing incredible IPA. I will say there's a couple of breweries that maybe I ain't got to mention, which I think I should mention, and they'd be Polly's. Great, fantastic. I went up and down with Polly's because I think I would like buying stuff like nearly every week. They were releasing like 3 IPAs a week. I'll buy most of them, and I just get kind of got lost in the kind of the haze of oh, excuse me, excuse the pun of in the haze of the haze, and they just blended too much one into one. Started drinking a bit more Polly's recently and really enjoyed them. I just don't think there's anything that's really stood out specifically. I'm sure there's some of you guys out there will I'll have a couple of examples. I mean, I could give you some names, but then and I went back and watched some reviews, what I've done of Polly's. Thought, yeah, some good stuff, really good stuff, really enjoyable stuff, and doing the kind of beer that I like. But I don't think anything specifically kind of like jumped out at me. And in the summer, Pomona Island made a real big impression on me. Felt like a real find, as you mean. But I got a bit burnt out on them. Everything just seemed to be getting a bit similar. Once again, it was just like Polly's. It was like 3 releases a week, and you were buying at least 2 of them, and you just got a bit tired of it all. Really, not bad beers, but just as it happens, not to be nothing that kind of stood out from the pack, from the just monotony of lovely, juicy IPAs. I mean, very much spoilt on this. But I will say, my number one IPA this year. Do you know what? There's no right answer to this, but there's no even right answer in my mind. But sometimes you just gotta like kind of nail your colours to the mast. And I'm gonna go with Pressure Drop 7 crystals for psychic abilities and intuition. I could have given you in a bunch of other beers from Pressure Drop. I'm a big fan of Pressure Drop. I could have said recently Capital Ring. That really was beautiful. Just a 6 point, whatever, 7 point something IPA, loads of mosaic, beautiful. The return, once again, the return of Understanding Whole Systems, another stunner. I mean, I don't want to mention too many because I'm just going to forget them. But pretty much every Donatella's, whatever Bob, the beer with the pizza on the front a couple of weeks ago, stunning. So many great IPAs and so many great double IPAs from Pressure Drop. Just doing the kind of beer that I like, juicy, New England IPA, but with balance, not going too far off the mark. Really showcasing hops. Lot of Sabro, lot of even more Citra, even more Mosaic. So that's what I'm going to go with. 7 crystals for psychic abilities, intuition. My British IPA of the year. Thanks for tuning in. For everybody who's watching now, we might probably going to be going live with a couple of other friends talking about kind of beers in 2020. So stick around if you want to tune into that. Hopefully on Sunday, I plan to do my top 10 British brewed stouts. So some good stuff. I had some amazing stouts this year. Once again, it's been a tricky one to nail down just one from one specific brewery because there's been some great stuff, especially as the winter months rolled in. So yeah, big thanks to everybody who's tuning in live. Big thanks to everybody who's watched this after the fact. If you're watching live, stick around. Probably going to be another live feed shortly with some of our lovely YouTube faces appearing. So big thanks. If you're drinking IPA right now, tell me what your favourite IPA, British brewed IPA this year has been. Put it in the comments. I'm Ron from Hopzine. Thanks for tuning in. See you on Sunday. Stouts on Sunday. That's what you're doing, it. Anyway. Cheers.